I love it when dystopia is being sold in a package with a nice smiley face. So this person on Twitter talks about the homeless population, and one of the reasons he thinks there are so many homeless is because buildings have a limit to how tall they can be built. So instead of building up, why can't we build down? And I'm thinking of a future where the poor people are forced to live underground and they become the mole people, because this is what you're suggesting. I mean, I'm looking at this, it's like a scene from Resident Evil. Like, the end of the world happened and the people are forced to live under these conditions, not because they want to or they like it, but they have no other choice. And you probably didn't even consider the health implications that living like this can have on a person. You're going to see it right away, probably in the first couple of months. A level of chronic depression amongst all the people living in this apartment. And in a couple of years, you might even start seeing suicides happening. Because vitamin D is very important, and the only way you can get it is through sunlight. I mean, I can tell you as a YouTuber, one of the downsides of this job is that often enough you can revert your sleeping schedule. So because I have a lot of American friends, I try to stay up during the night, and then I end up sleeping during the day. So I completely switch around my sleeping schedule. And because of that, when it happens, I'm more depressed. I'm more down. I feel like I don't have energy. I feel like I have no reason of getting out of bed. And all of that fixes the moment I revert my sleeping schedule back to normal, when I'm awake during the day and when I'm asleep during the night. Now, all of this has been thoroughly studied and documented. It's called the biological rhythm. You can look it up and you can find interesting things about it. For example, most people are more melancholic and they feel more vulnerable at around the hour of 7 to 9 p.m. So if you want to ask a girl out, the best time to do it is around that time period. Do not ask a girl out during early morning, for example. You're going to get different responses if you follow my advice. But all of this is due to the sunlight. Like, it's very important that it affects our lives at a very deep level. So no one wants to live here. Like, all people that have money are not going to want to live in an apartment that has no windows. But I guess the argument is, what about the poor people? I mean, if you're homeless, would you rather not live in a place like this than not have a place at all? This operates on the false assumption that digging underground is actually cheaper than building up. In reality, it's just as expensive, and you're just dealing with different sorts of problems when you build underground. And the deeper you go, the more expensive it gets. Very similar for skyscrapers, where the taller they go, the more expensive it gets. Now, I wanted a basement attached to my house, and when I found out the price, at first I thought it's ridiculous and the builder is trying to con me. So I went to another builder and they gave me a similar price. Now, doing a little bit of research and in hindsight, I realized why it's so expensive. Take into account that the floor is a lot more difficult to make, because you have to take into account the water in the earth applies with a force onto your building, causing it to float. And in order to prevent this from happening, you need thicker walls and you need a more sturdy floor. And all of this costs money. Now, the deeper you go, the more thicker the walls and the more sturdier the floors. And this is just one of the added costs that you're going to have to face while building underground. So, to answer your question, why don't we have more affordable homes that build underground? The answer is that it wouldn't be affordable. So, who would live there? The poor wouldn't be able to afford it, and the middle class that would be able to afford it wouldn't find it desirable. There is no reason why anyone would want to live in a house with no windows, especially when it's expensive. They would rather live in a high-rise apartment. They would rather live in that skyscraper that you were talking about earlier, because at least you get the natural sunlight. Also, I would hate to imagine what it would happen if the electricity would go out in one of these buildings. Like, can you even imagine the complete darkness? I mean, that would be incredibly scary. So yeah, while I do find the Warhammer 40k dystopian Hive City future interesting, where the poor people are forced to live underground, luckily we are not there yet. And hopefully better alternatives and other solutions can be found, rather than cause the worst mass depression level event the world has ever seen. Let me know what you guys think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.